All right, we are officially live. Getting the extra cameras over here ready to go.
All right.
Um,
Just a forewarning. I may have to break up a cat fight at some point because the kitten and Steve are still not really friends. So I may have to intervene.
I had to throw my shoe at my cats plenty of times because they were fighting with each other, and I'm like, if y'all don't just stop, like I'm
Yeah.
not in the mood for you.
A perfectly placed spray bottle has been my friend.
Yeah.
hello, Debbie. So, we thought we would kind of go over today some ethics in ghost hunting. So, if you're new and you're like, what should I or should I not do? Emily and Richie have some suggestions. By no means are these the end all be all, because, right, some of that might
Right.
depend on the location that you're at, because they might have extra sets of rules like
Mhm.
do not go live,
Yeah,
do not,
a lot of locations do. A lot of locations will give you the rules at the beginning, like they get when they're giving you the tour of the place. They'll be like, okay, and these are our rules. If you break them, you're out.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay,
Yeah. So, what we're kind of going over today, kind of like the general common courtesy, just approaching spirit world, period. Um, these are in addition to any location rules that you might run into. But I think first and foremost, and this might even be location, like no breaking and entering.
yeah,
Get permission
I feel like that should be
to
like
go
common.
into that building.
That's one of the ones that when I read it so many times. Like I told you, I put it out there to see how other people feel about it. What other groups do, what their rules are for their people. And a lot of them said no trespassing, and I'm like, you really gotta tell people? Like, and then I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so. But like, it feels like that should be common sense. Like, don't break into private property. No trespassing. Like, don't do anything illegal to get there. I mean,
um,
Yeah.
but then again, common sense is not something grown in your everyday garden anymore. So
well, I think some people like that sense of adventure. Like, not only am I the adrenaline rush, right? That I might
yeah,
get scared by something, but now we are like hoping to not get caught. But in all reality,
yeah,
some of these old, cool, condemned looking buildings, they don't want you in there because it's cool and condemned. So you might fall through a floor, something might
yes,
collapse on you. So this is why you should not be sneaking into things. Have I snuck into a building in my younger years? Maybe. Do I
Yeah.
do as I have done?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
definitely.
steal some of your coffee cups, Melissa. You're always drinking out of a Nightmare Before Christmas coffee cup, and
I have a few. I have a few.
I'm gonna steal some because I don't have any.
Oh,
No, actually, I do. I have one that is actually Jack's head, and that's what it
Ooh.
is.
um,
It's like the
mine
Oogie
is
Boogie
his
one.
head right here. On
It's like your Oogie Boogie one right there, but
oh,
it's
this one.
but
Okay.
it's it's Jack instead, obviously.
So these look
And it's not
cool. They're a
drink.
pain in the ass to drink out of.
Yeah, I
So
found that out the hard way, so I'm like, don't.
they collect dust, get dusted eventually, but yeah, they don't get used very often.
Yeah, I would have
Now,
to track of stuff.
um, now I'm sure maybe I admitted to it. I don't know if either one of you like have you snuck in and like was it worth it? This is another reason why it's not recommended to sneak in
Yeah,
places.
it was. I mean, it made it in a place I snuck into, made it into my book because a lot of stuff happened. But
We're doing a bad job at enforcing rules all of a sudden.
Yeah, we're like, follow the rules, but also.
you do that when you're young and when you're new to to it, and then you learn, and you. I just basically the way I'm going to say it is, you grow up, you
Yeah.
learn what to do, what not to do, and it's like, okay, I was young, I was dumb, I did that. Let's not do it again.
Right. And I think too, it is with age. You have more to lose when you get older. You know what I mean? You're caught as a teenager. It's like mom and dad are going to
Okay,
bail
but
me out most of the time. You have your parents to help you, and it's not as scary, and you don't really realize like the risks. And then when you're older, it's like, okay, I'm not trying to go to jail. Like, so I'm
right,
going to not do that.
right. I'm on my own, so I gotta be careful.
Yeah, I have snuck in. It was Gore Orphanage, which actually now I know as an adult that that's not even a real location. You know, it was just like a local teenage lore type of thing.
Mm,
Was not worth it. The property owners actually came out brandishing some stuff at us, and it was really scary. So that's
yeah,
the whole other reason that you should never sneak in somewhere is you have no idea who's there. They get frustrated, and people are going to
yeah,
protect their property, and they're within their rights to do that. So it's like, just don't risk it. It'd be a
yeah,
shame for somebody to get hurt or get in trouble, especially if you're like me and it was a location that isn't even haunted anyway. So
exactly. And plus, with abandoned buildings, you don't just have to um, worry about, like, does it have an owner currently? Are there squatters? Is there homeless people in there? Because
Mhm.
they are just as dangerous as they are more dangerous. Some of them are.
that's true.
So it's
Well,
like,
and also, just people using substances there.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different reasons why you really shouldn't go into an abandoned place.
yeah, well,
I'm in a group on Facebook actually where people will go and explore places like that. And one of their rules is they won't share the location of where they went. Like, they'll show pictures of it, but they won't ever tell you where it's at or how to get there because so many people vandalize it and stuff. That's another reason you shouldn't break in, because it kind of ruins it for everybody else who's going to do something the right way.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Now, we were kind of talking about this a little bit off air. We will dance around the subject. And I think, I forget which one of you said it, probably better than I would have. It's like, don't disrespect the dead.
yeah,
So once you're
absolutely.
in there, treat them as if they were still physically in front of you. Would you walk up and start demanding and yelling and being confrontational? Hey, chair.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't. So why would you do that
absolutely.
in the empty room?
But the thing is what people got to keep in mind is they are humans still. They're just in a different form, in a different realm. So
Yeah, I think having compassion for them is like
yeah,
really important. Like, how would you like to be,
yeah. I
stuck
mean,
somewhere?
somebody comes up in like your living space, in your space, and they start yelling and demanding, and this. The first thing you're going to do is probably knock them out.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
You get better results when you follow
you're
the
not
common
gonna-
courtesy rules.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't want nothing to do with that person. Like, you come yelling at me, I'm not giving you anything.
That's so true.
Yeah,
If
you
you
come
come
in
in
yelling and you want me to
respectfully,
touch your flashlight. F
yeah,
you and your flashlight. I'll go
Deal-
in another room,
I
It's
might
like that penguin meme where he's like, well, no, I'm not doing it. It's like that.
I might touch that flashlight, but when I do, it's going upside your head.
Right. And that is the other part too, is it's dangerous. So a lot of the time you see in, I won't say, a name of a show or anything, but like where they start to provoke, they yell, they demand things, and then somebody ends up getting really hurt.
Yes.
And they kind of deserve it, to be honest. I don't really feel bad for them.
I don't. When I see something like that happen after somebody's been yelling and cussing and carrying on, I'm like, and then they whine about getting hit or hurt. It's like, what the hell did you think was going to happen?
Yep. As my partner would say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like,
it's like if that was living physical being standing in front of you, it would have been a lot worse for you if you would have been doing that.
Mhm.
Right. And I think too, like one of the things that I do anytime I go somewhere is I introduce myself.
Yeah.
You say, I'm Emily. This is what I do. I'm just here to talk. I'm not here to harm you. Let them know what your intention is, and let them know that you're only there to hear their story, and treat them like a person, like Richie said. Have some compassion for the things they went through in life as well, because most of the time somebody who lived a really stress-free, lovely life doesn't end up as an earthbound spirit. Most of the time. So
And something else that another show taught me. They started on one show, then they got their own show, but they taught me don't just focus on the end either. Don't just focus on how that person died. Do some research on the place, learn about things, learn about people who were there, and talk about the good times. Like, yes, we can talk about the end, like, especially if it was a really sticky, really horrible end. Yes, we're going to talk about that, obviously. But let's talk about some of the happier times first, because nobody wants to sit there and constantly relive their death.
I agree with that.
Let's talk about the good things that happen. We can get to that. Absolutely, we can. But I'm not sitting here trying to talk about all of the worst parts of my life. Let's talk about some of the good things that happened.
Yeah, I agree with that. And as a medium and stuff, for me, I feel like most of the time when spirits start talking, they are kind of talking about their accomplishments, like the accolades, the things that they've done. They want you to know who they are.
Yeah.
Minimizing them to just how they passed away is such a small part of it. And then also you might miss some of the information you could get about them because you don't know the backstory. Or, for me, I kind of like to go in blind just to kind of validate myself, I guess, and I'll have somebody else who did a lot of research and stuff, but I like to see what I come up with without knowing the history, I guess, just because, again, how things come through for me. But it is true why would you want to focus on just how you passed away? That's not really good for anybody, is it?
They have so much more life than just that one moment.
Right.
Their death, so honestly, if you came in at me and I'm the goat, I'm not talking to you.
No.
I've got better things to do.
You love talking to people.
Well, there's that right there. You're going to have to come in with some bribery.
Yeah.
We'll bring you a cup of coffee and you'll tell us whatever we want to know.
There we go. All right, have a seat. You brought me coffee, fine.
Yeah, and that's something else that I'd like to do, especially if I'm going to a place with kids or something. I will take toys, or if I go to somewhere like Post Town Elementary School, there is a Dollar Tree not too far, so I'll stop in and I'll grab a bag of Smarties or something, something that's really wrapped up really good, and I'll be like, okay, if you do this, I'll leave this here for you.
I like that. Yeah.
So Chris, and I'm sorry, Emily's going to cover you because just the way this does. Because I was recently listening to a podcast and the team was getting no interaction in a very haunted place. They questioned the location owner, and a really loud room team from a popular TV show was there. The team apologized and let the spirits know that they meant no disrespect or harm, and the activity kicked right back up. So that... There has been kind of an instance of that in the Cleveland area at a mansion where even property owners did not agree with what was put out on TV of what the history and what supposedly happened in there. And so it's kind of a reminder to think when you're watching some of these shows, how much of that is for ratings.
Yeah.
And for, the drama to keep you watching versus what really went on. But I absolutely can believe that would happen. And I think it happens a lot more than people realize is somebody gets in, disrespects a place, and then everybody there's like, nah. Myself and some friends were at the House of Wills before they got a lot of the improvement going for one of the birthday parties there for one of the people. And the whole time we're sitting there, and this is a gentleman who is known for having really awesome physical mediumship and table tipping and things moving in the House of Wills, and like nothing's happening. And I'm like, they're standing kind of the outskirts. And the message that I kept perceiving was like, we're not a horse and pony show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who came in here and did what? You know, or are we, you know, like they're just tired and we were the straw that broke the camel's back. They're like, we are not going to play games with you just to prove that we're here. So, right.
Oh, you see Hilda?
Yeah, she was ravaging her spider a little bit ago. I seen her in the camera just going crazy.
Oh.
I'm surprised Hilda's even been still this long, because, like, I don't know if I said the last time, but I nicknamed her Kilda because she's slightly evil. I love her very much, so we tolerate it.
Yeah, mine's sleeping on the back of the chair in a little black puddle in the window. So, but little black cat, not little. Which the kitty cat, Kilda, nickname Kilda.
Yeah.
Now, what's another like ethical rule people should consider to a place? We covered the don't disrespect the spirits, don't be trespassing.
Right.
All right, my hunters, what's going on? What are we doing?
For me, it's go ahead, Richie, if you had something.
I was looking at my notes trying to find something that we didn't cover yet, and we covered what everybody else has said. So now I guess it's time for me to actually turn my brain on and think instead of just reading. But we did all that. As far as provoking goes, I think it's okay in some cases. In some places, you have to know where you can do it. If I'm in a prison or an asylum, yes, I will do that. But like a school, or if I'm in somebody's home, I'm not going to do that. Because as I've said before, when we've talked about it, even on here, when you go, especially when you go to somebody's home, they've called you in to help them. They're already scared of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So now you're going in there, you're provoking, you're pissing things off. Well, guess what? You're going to go home in a few hours. Now these people got to deal with the ramifications of your stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
So things are going to get worse, because just like a physical person, when they get pissed off, stuff happens. And they don't understand, they don't necessarily understand that these people who live in this house, it was not their fault that this happened. It was this idiot investigator who didn't know what they were doing. But then also that thing about the team apologizing to the spirits, I think if you do have to provoke, then just like, when you're punishing your child and you explain to them why you did what you did, explain to the spirits why you did what you did. That doesn't necessarily make it right, but it makes it less likely that they're going to basically take revenge on the people who own the property.
That makes sense to me. At least you're taking responsibility for it, right? You're saying like, hey, I did that. This is why. I think, Hilda, I think for me too, like if you're in a home, like let's say I'm at an elementary school, I'm at a location where the activity isn't violent or aggressive in any way. It's just like earthbound spirits, that want to talk, and they were good people in life. If they ask you to leave or to stop something, just stop. Like that's my thing. I'll see a lot of people like, okay, well, we're not going to leave unless you do A, B, and C. That might be a way to get a spirit that wasn't really necessarily aggressive to start getting annoyed. Because it's like, I did the thing and I asked you to leave nicely. Just like people, their battery runs out, they get tired, and they should be within their rights to stop if they want.
Chris brings up a
Absolutely.
good point. She's like, leave the location the same way you found it.
That's true
Yes.
too.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That kind of, in a way, like the don't break and enter, right? Especially if you're having to bust in doors or windows. But when you have permission to be in there, don't be stealing things. Don't be moving things. Don't be, well, that spirit slammed that door. We're going to take it off the hinges. Why? This is not your property. Don't touch that. Don't rearrange the place for your convenience. It's one thing to set up camera tripods and
Yeah,
prop a
absolutely.
camera on a windowsill or something, because when you pick that camera up and go, you can't tell that it was even there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
respecting
exactly.
the building and the grounds that you're in, for the property owner, and other people that will be coming in trying to have that same experience that you just had. So, be respectful of the people coming after you and the people that own it.
Yeah.
And on that, I think, if people start acting like that, and they start doing stuff like, not leaving it like they found it. A lot of people come in and groups come in and start provoking and doing all this stuff. At some point, the owner of the property might be like, you know what, to hell with this. You guys can't be respectful. I'm going to cut it. Nobody else is going to be able to come in here now. Congratulations, you ruined it. And that's not necessarily, that's not a good thing to have happen. Like, they have investigations there for a reason. So be respectful. I mean, it's not just the living or the dead that you got to respect, and you got to respect the living. You got to respect the owners of the place, because they're letting you come in there. They don't have to let you in there.
Yeah. Like, don't ruin it for everybody else.
It's a privilege, not a right.
And slightly off on that. So, and I think this is where, because I've ran into it doing events with Marianne, people wanting to know why the cost of some of these places to get in. Like, well, they gave us permission. Why do we have to pay to get in?
Right.
There's insurance involved. And it's in some of these older buildings and stuff, like, it's high because they kind of anticipate somebody along the way getting hurt and then eventually getting sued. So this is why there are those fees to protect the homeowner and the insurance company.
That is
right.
So
every single thing you do an investigation at will make you sign a waiver in the beginning that they are not responsible for anything that happens to you. You knew the risk when you walked in the door, and you're taking responsibility for it. And that's absolutely understandable. And if you don't want to sign the waiver, then go home.
Right. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is some of these buildings are historical or need repairs in order to just make them safe enough for people to be in there. Like the B&O Railroad is a perfect example of that. It's not just a haunted location, it's also a museum. So when you're going in there and paying to hunt, they're not even really making profit off of that. They're really just trying to keep the place open. And then that goes along with respecting the rules, because one of the rules was there is a basement there. We were not allowed to record us walking into the basement. So people didn't know how to get in there unless they were accompanied by somebody, because it was dangerous and you had to walk a certain way to make sure you weren't going to get hurt. So, and it is one of those things where, okay, if people start sneaking in or if people don't follow the rules, then we're just going to not let you go in there anymore, and that sucks for everybody. So,
yeah. Like don't automatically assume that it's just a money grab, because you have to get in, older buildings have a lot of upkeep. So, like when we did the House of Wills, it was to start revamping that building. Because when we went in there was no electric, no heat. Like there were still the huge holes in the chapel ceiling. So if it rained outside, it rained inside. And in some of those floors, I was the smallest of my group. So I had to edge out on the floor to see where the floor underneath the carpet stopped. So you knew how far you could go. Like, that's why some of these buildings don't be sneaking in and respect their rules, because you can and will get hurt. And if you fell through that carpet, you were falling a few floors down into, a basement. And if I remember right, that building's got like 2 sub basements. So it would have been a long fall.
Yeah.
Very neat building. They are doing work in there. It's looking awesome. I love the little hidden doors and stuff that's in that building. But honestly, I thought it was more creepy at all of the stuff left over from the people who died. Like there were still the little manila envelope packets of like earrings and cards from families. Like just, I'm like, that's more creepy to me.
Yeah, there's something about a house that's been just completely abandoned, but like all their stuff was left there. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that is.
BMF, hey, have y'all experienced clairaudience with them yet? Only a couple times. And then I'm the immediate going, who said that? Thinking it's a live person. You know,
Yeah,
so
that's the first reaction. Like, okay, no, I know somebody else is here and somebody said that. Because there's no way that I heard that. And
yeah, that's kind of the main way. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, I was
okay. That's like the main way I probably get my information through spirit would be like clairaudience and claircognizance. So that does happen a lot, I guess. I will say though, with my clairaudience, it's like I normally can tell that it's not a living person. And I don't know if that's because it's happened to me a lot or not. But I mean, at this point, as I've been like opening up, I'm in my own house and I'm waking up at 3 a.m. to somebody like, hello. One time I had somebody say like, hey, I'm talking to you. Those are moments where I thought it was like a living person and it wasn't. The clairaudience is really cool though. I will say that's probably one of the more common clairs where a lot of people think it's clairvoyance, like seeing. But that's actually really rare to like see an apparition like that. And not just in your third eye, but like out into the room. That does not happen very often.
Yeah, that's only been a couple times for me. I think one of the first times, like me and a few friends, we got into an old abandoned house. The door was hanging open, so we didn't really have to break anything. But and I just remember we were standing in a circle and everybody's in front of me. And we were all just kind of talking, you know. I think we were talking about like where we wanted to go eat. So we weren't even talking about the place. We were just kind of standing there like, oh, cool house, but you know, let's leave. And all of a sudden, like this hand was just on my shoulder in the immediate perception of an elderly, you know, African-American lady. And I probably looked like something out of Scooby-Doo because it was that whole, like, they're all in front of me. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go wait outside because that was like the first time that ever happened. And I'm like, oh, now I'm like, I wish I remembered where that house was. It was in Indiana somewhere, you know, like a field. And it was one of those bunch of kids driving around at night, just wherever the car went because gas was dirt cheap. And we were like, hey, look at that. No idea where we were. But now, you know, I would want those type of things to happen. But it seems like when you were unaware and not expecting, more likely to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a little while to figure out it wasn't spirits, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Moonlight, quick question, a little off topic. Someone I know has tried banishing and cleansing a home, but neither worked. Is it because it's a strong spirit, or maybe she wasn't doing the cleansing, banishing properly? So the fun thing with shadow people, they're not always something that needs to be removed. That's just how they're being perceived. And it could be a good entity, spirit, whatever. And that's why the banishings aren't working, because they are not of that energy that needs to be banished, so those rituals aren't going to work. But there could be any number of reasons. And Emily, I know you do some types of ritual that like I'm used to seeing with Marianne. So you have a different perspective on that whole type of thing?
Yeah. They're very well. So first of all, sometimes I do believe if it's like a non-human spirit, it might take a little bit more effort to get it to leave. it can take a lot. Now, I'm not like a necessarily super religious person, but sometimes I do recommend that for people where if you really cannot get rid of a spirit, a man of the cloth coming, because it doesn't matter if you believe or not, it's if that spirit believes, right? Or whatever's
Yeah.
there. Some kind of intimidation might need to happen. Sometimes this might sound silly, but just asking what they want or telling them, hey, because, everyone tries to banish and just kind of kick them out, right? But sometimes it's as simple as letting them know, like, you can leave if you want, like,
Yeah.
hey, there's, go into the light. You can go if you want to, and just trying to talk with them. That's kind of what I try first, just to see if they'll voluntarily go. But yeah, there could be a number of reasons. Like you said, it's not working. There could be a portal that needs closed if it seems like it's multiple different ones. And they're just, you might have gotten rid of the one that was in there, but they can come in and out. So probably getting a medium or somebody there who's able to really like hone in on what the actual issue is would be ideal, because you do address it differently depending on what's going on in the home. So it is pretty specific to the actual activity.
Well, you brought up a good point. The spirit, whatever religion they believed in, of what you can do. I know so many people are like, get a Catholic priest out. And I've often wondered, and this isn't, I can't prove this, right, until I'm on the other side.
Right.
If it's somebody of a pagan belief or, a non-denominational, is that Catholic priest really going to do anything? The fear of that God that maybe that person didn't hold. But at the other side of the fence, it's also kind of like that belief of something and the intention coming through and something greater than yourself in that spirit, regardless of what God.
Right.
Don't know till I get to the other side. This is like one of the first little experiments I'm doing once I'm on the other side, because I'm like, inquiring minds would like to know.
Yeah.
But I think shadow people automatically get the bad rap, right? Because the man in black is always the villain in all of the country Western movies, and in all, very rarely, and it's more of a more modern thing where the guy in black isn't always the villain.
Right.
So I think there are some Native American traditions where like the white buffalo is actually a villain, like depending on how the story, like it's not always the black one. So even though the whole, like separately, like the white buffalo, and I understand this is also a very sacred animal, but I think there's some stories where the colors change. But
the
whole
point, I agree with that. Yeah. In the lore.
So getting a good, reputable medium to maybe come out and try to communicate with them and see what's really going on, and kind of take it from there. But get a good medium, word of mouth, people that have had good experience. If you're local, we can help you there. But if you're not, do some research and get a good medium who has a lot of people that says they've done good work. Don't just, kind of phone book, Facebook, flip through and go, there's one, and bring them out. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of scam artists in any tradition, right?
Very true.
Absolutely.
So give the rest of us a bad name. BMF says the lesser banning ritual pentagram is a good way to set up barriers. I don't know if you've tried that one, Emily. It's been a long time since I've gone through the lesser banishing, but
I don't think I've done that actually specifically. To be honest, I'm like, I don't want to say lazy, but like I've got my great grandma as a guide, and a lot of the time I'm just like, can you like take care of that, because I don't really want to, so that's kind of like where I'm at with that. But I also do have like a railroad spike in each corner of my house. I have my house like very warded, just because my son is also super sensitive too. And when he doesn't really understand what's going on, like, and I'm not going to tell him it's not real, but I'm not also going to be like, yeah, there's ghosts in your room, buddy. Like, it's fine, So it's a fine line. So I just don't let them get in to begin with.
Well, that's probably another good ethical point for yourself, setting your boundaries, cleansing yourself, protecting yourself, so nothing comes home with you.
Yes.
Absolutely. only one time did I fail to tell anything to stay where it was. Like, I only forgot one time, and I paid for it for 5 years.
Oh, wow. See,
Um,
I got lucky. The time I forgot was at the Grafton school, and it was just like a little elderly janitor, and I was like, "Nice to meet you. Goodbye. Sorry, forgot."
I even did it there when as soon as I got in my car, I felt like somebody got in the car with me. I was like, get out.
Time to
This is
go.
where you are not going on with me. Get out.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't that rude about it. Obviously.
No, of course. But yeah, I won't forget again. That's for sure. I think part of it, like I said, I was working the event as opposed to like having the mentality of like I'm going there to investigate. So it just I didn't follow the typical protocol I would. And yeah, so I won't do that again. But it is important to say, like, you know, I liked the way Maria said it because she's like, just tell him you're not trying to make any more friends. You don't need any new friends. I think I love the way she said that. Very gentle.
She's got a good way of like phrasing things sometimes. Well, not some when it needs to be. She's very direct and like boot to the face, and I'm that type of person. For other situations.
Yeah.
Her and grandma.
I love grandma.
I pretty much stay that way all the time. I mean, I put it as politely as I can, but it's always like direct to the point. Like, we're not candy coating anything. Like, this is exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah, you have to be firm regardless. Like, you can be polite, but like you said, you have to be firm and like solid in what you're saying. No room for, you know, questions about that. And we kind of talked in the last one about like business hours. It's the same type of thing. Like, don't want to communicate past this time. You are not allowed in the bathroom. You're not allowed in any areas where it's supposed to be private. Because just like there's some really gross, creepy living people, there are some really gross, creepy dead people too. We get the whole array of human experience. So
yeah, if they were a creep in life, they're a creep in death, until they kind of do the whole crossover and learn over. But you know, just in some of the places I've been, like with Mary Ann, you know, there was a restaurant in Oberlin where the guy was hanging out in the women's bathroom, and she's like, he's bragging about how now that he's invisible, nobody can see him do it, you know? And I'm like, you got rid of him, right? She goes, oh yeah. But so that's where to touch back maybe in the provoking at a prison, like that's the mentality of those type of people, right? They're going to come at you puffed up and in that way. So holding your ground, possibly having to do that in a prison. There's also going to be, like, unfortunately, probably innocent people that were sent to prison. But for the most part, that's the mentality and personality that you would be dealing with, unlike a school, a private home,
right?
You know, an old hotel, you know, so thinking of like where you're going and what type of personality you're going to run into and should dictate or set the precedence of how you're going to act when you go in.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that being said, when I go to Mansfield for Parapsychon, I still don't go in there like, what's up, dead people? I'm here to kick your butt. It's more of like,
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially as women in prisons and stuff too, you have to be, you tend to get a different type of activity than the men do. So I've noticed that, and I don't mean to make everything gendered, but this is just what I've noticed in my experience.
I mean, it's a fact.
Yeah, like a lot more stalking, just feeling like someone's behind you, maybe inappropriate touching, stuff like that. Whereas a guy, they might just like scratch you or do whatever, especially if you're provoking, you know.
Oh yeah.
That's something I've noticed a lot, especially with the reformatory in general. Seems to be the place where a lot of people get injured. So,
you know, and it's
I've been
disappointing. All the times I've been in there, nothing has happened, and I'm like, really? I'm like, do you not like me? Like,
yeah, are you not entertained?
I am here.
There are some spirits out there that will not interact with women simply because they're women.
Yeah,
that's true too.
I did find that out because a friend of mine, his mom, like they were interacting with me and him, but they were ignoring her when she asked questions. And I'm like, "Are you ignoring her because she's a woman?" And then they were like, "Yes." And of course,
Hmm.
I was 22 and still a dumbass, and I'm like, "Listen," and I went off. And I'm like, we don't disrespect women here. If you're going to talk to us, you're going to talk to her, and that's just how it's going to be.
And they were like,
And
and we'll quit talking, period.
Yeah, goodbye.
well, actually, no, they started talking to her.
They
Okay.
love that even in the afterlife, we still have to like we
Put
still
people
have
in
more
their place.
hurdles over. That's great. But
We're still
And,
learning. We're still learning.
you know, at prisons, I found, especially as a guy, when things aren't going the way that we want it, like we're not getting a lot of stuff. If I go into like correction officer mode and I start, talking to them like the guards would talk, they start interacting because they're like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble now."
Oh, prison made Emily leave. She might be back. In all honesty, though, I haven't been to the prison except for Parapsychon. I haven't gotten to do like
Yeah,
a private hunt there, but I know like there will be other vendors and stuff that are like, oh, this cell over here, and I'm like, oh, let me go over there. And I'm like, crickets. But I'm also
yeah,
that person, and it's happened in the store where people will have like table tipping happening, or like a cup on the table and it's moving, and there's just a couple people with like a fingertip and that cup is moving and answering questions. And the minute I'm like, ooh, the minute I touch it, like, stop. And I'm like, I must be some sort of like spirit, like vanisher, warder, like get away from, that they're like, woo, we're gone. And I think maybe that's why Greg, like, he's got a seance coming up and he always wants me there as like his grounder and like his border patrol. But I'm like, I can see them and feel them. And there's been times where, and Emily, maybe, I don't know if you've sat in on any of them, but like he'll have that long table of people and certain spirits will just try to overtake the whole damn thing. And I'm like, enough out of you. There
yeah.
are other
yeah,
people who paid to be here who need to talk to their others, and shut up, go away. We're done listening
you're
to you.
monopolizing.
Your rose bush at the front door and your statues and your cookie tin. Like, we're done with you.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure that out. But like, so there's haunted places that I go in and then I'm just like, nothing. And I can sense them in the perimeter, but they don't interact with me anymore. But I'm like, well, that nobody likes me. Okay, fine.
You must really have some good boundaries up, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So good. I don't know what they are. As soon as I
Yeah,
figure that out, we'll have a class on that.
Yeah, teach people how to do it.
exactly. Yeah.
We're already at 10:45. So do
Oh
we have
wow.
any last minute rules that maybe we have forgotten? Because I know there were only going to be a handful.
And then we kept, the one thing I'll say is say thank you.
Yes.
If they do what you ask, say thank you. If they're interacting, say thank you. Saying please goes a long way. Just like use your manners.
Yeah.
That's my biggest advice. People like polite people, both in regular life and afterlife. So
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and that goes right along with remembering that they're humans too. I mean, like, just think about how you would act in a situation.
Mhm.
Would you respond to what you just did? Probably not. So why would you do it?
right, being delicate
If
about
somebody, yeah, and if somebody, if you did something for somebody and they didn't say thank you, didn't show any kind of appreciation, chances are you're not going to want to do anything for them again.
yeah.
So literally it goes down to the oldest rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. That goes for the living and the dead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want somebody coming in where I'm at screaming at me. So why would I go that's not always the case in every situation. There are situations that do call for some of that, but you really got to be careful, pick and choose where you do that. It was like I said earlier, in elementary school, yeah, no, you might be dealing with a child. Why are you yelling at them?
Yeah.
In somebody's home, that person called you in here because they're already terrified. So why are you pissing off whatever's here and making it worse?
Mm-hmm.
That, like, you're not helping anybody. And that is something else. Help the living and the dead. Don't just go in there, get your proof, and leave. See what
Yeah.
you can do to help the person. See what I'm not telling you that you got to be the spirit's counselor. I mean, just do what you can to help them, because maybe they are simply stuck and they're trying to get unstuck and they don't know how, or they don't understand what's going on. So you got to explain to them what's going on, and once they understand it, then they can go.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And if you don't know how to get rid of them, if it's above your pay grade, like, networking is amazing. Knowing people that can do stuff that you can't, or that have a specialty that you do not, is key. Yeah, I'm a medium, but am I going to go in and think that I can clear a house of like a super negative spirit? No, I'm probably going to be like, you might want to call Maria or Marianne, recognizing where your limits are and recommending people who are more well-versed is always a good idea.
That exactly is like you said, it's know your limits. Don't overstretch yourself, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't know what you're doing, you will make things worse. So if there is any doubt in your mind when you're doing something, stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
If you have to, if there's even the slightest second where it's like, is this okay? Then chances are, no, it's not okay. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Because if it was okay, you would not be doubting yourself.
Right.
So, know your limits. Don't overextend yourself. Like you said, know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know somebody, I promise that you know somebody who knows somebody.
Exactly.
It's like, people are asking me to do cleansings and stuff. And I'm like, and close portals. I'm like, I can do a basic cleansing, but I don't know that I can close a portal. I know that I am strong, but I don't think I'm that strong.
Right.
So I'm going to find somebody who's stronger than I am, who I know can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because me trying to close a portal, I could just strengthen that portal. I can make it, I can make it bigger, in that sense.
Or draw some attention from, something that's on the other side or whatever,
I could light a beacon for something that had no clue it was open. Now I just caused a lot more problems than I solved.
Yeah.
So, know your limits. It's just like with anything in life, you have to know where to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need to call somebody else.
Yeah.
And there's no shame. There's no shame in it. There's absolutely no shame. If you don't know how to do it, if you can't do it, that is okay. That's okay. Do not be afraid to ask for help, because it's going to be better in the end for you to ask for help. And guess what else? You can learn.
Yeah.
You might not be able to do it this time, but you can learn and you can do it next time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
But don't do it if you're not 100% sure that you can, because you're probably going to, if there's any doubt in you, you are 100% going to make things worse.
Yeah.
You have to be completely confident in yourself and your abilities, or you're going to make things worse.
Yeah, it's a very good rule there.
Yes.
All right. Well, I know, Emily, you got to get ready to come read at the store. So if
I
you are
do.
local, you can stop in and get a reading with Emily. Emily, you do
Yeah.
tarot, oracle, some mediumship work.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
sure do.
yeah, so you can always get readings with Emily in store. She can also do Zoom. So if you book, there is an option to select Zoom. So you can get a one-on-one with Emily for a reading, even if you're not local. And Richie, you're down in the Mansfield area, but you're going to be in store this Sunday promoting your book and your books because there's another one out.
Ooh.
So we're going to help. Yes,
I have copies of it, and we're going to make the big announcement for it this weekend. So look out for that too.
yeah. So if you're local, stop in, can meet Emily and Richie right there in the store. If you have questions about, hunting, you'll be able to talk with Richie. Emily may be busy doing readings because it is our monthly psychic fair.
Yeah.
So stop in, get a reading. But we thank you guys for hopping on for our paranormal ethics chat. And we should be back next Wednesday at 10. We don't have a topic yet. We'll have to talk about that off air, maybe on Sunday.
We'll figure that out. Stay tuned.
We'll figure it out. We got time.
That's right. All right. For our Twitch friends, we're going to raid over to a really cool artist who is working on a Starman David Bowie piece because it's looking pretty awesome, who's a local artist. So
It's awesome.
We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Hey, watch it.